challenge you this, John. If you were just getting out of your professional lacrosse years, I'm sure you accumulated some money there, but probably building businesses has paid you a lot higher dividend than playing lacrosse, as we all know that a lot of the
Yeah.
high-paying lacrosse players here still don't make the amount of money that
No,
NBA and NFL players make. But you
no
wanted to
way.
go start Kane all over again. Maybe you're 30 years old. You don't have a big checkbook to go write, but you have a passion for building a shoe today that is a recovery-based shoe that can go
Yep.
help athletes. But you don't have all the money today to go do so. How would you do it today? Where would you start?
You could also work with agencies where you give them some small amount of equity to help you with the whole front end design development. Like you could give them some equity up on the front end for them to help you, whether it's a designer or an agency. I would say just get to the point where you have to prove the concept where people like the product as well as, whether it's designs or actual, you have the actual physical product. But I was hustling. I didn't have much money when I started Maverick. I put in 30 grand. Like that was, I mean, I don't know if that, but I did that because I was working camps and I'd save all my money and I'd put it towards developing my equipment company. So I think you have to hustle. No one's going to, you got to build a little nest egg, right? You can't just go in with no money in the game because then you're not going to be able to attract investors because they're going to say, what do you lose if this doesn't go well? You lose nothing. So you have to I think you have to bring in skin. I won't invest in brands that the founders don't personally put money in. So I think having 10 grand, 15 grand to kick things off, and then maybe trading some sweat equity. I mean, and then you just got to get to a certain point where if it makes sense, design, people loving your designs, then you bring it to a 3D mold. Or if you like, whatever it might be, you just got to prove some aspect of it. People are signing in or they're checking out the site, whatever it might be. Just get to that point where you can just take the next step. And you just got to take a step by step every couple of months until you have something solid where you can go out and raise some more money at a proper valuation where you're not getting, destroyed personally. The drill. It sounds like how it
I know a
works.
little bit. I know a thing or two about raising money and going around these ventures. So I know maybe I'm a little
Yeah.
younger than you today, but it's not an easy journey, right? And I think a lot of people today don't want to get their hands dirty enough to get the proper MVP in place to then find investors and saying, look, I've done so much legwork here that a lot of these people just have a pitch deck and a dream. And they'd rather go that route and just try to raise all this VC money and get diluted like no other versus really trying to go at the furthest length they can to see how far they can go on their own before they put their hand out. I think we live in a society today where putting your hand out is really easy because optionality is at its all-time highest. And you have a lot of people in venture capital, private equity who want to go invest in these companies today. But if you raise the wrong type of money, that could be massively detrimental to you in the future, right? So I think, what do you think was one of the biggest mistakes you've made in business thus far that has shaped you to building Kane properly today?
Yeah. And just to go back on that, I would say, look, you have to hit the ground, hustle, prove I've seen a lot of decks where people just want to just raise a lot of money without proving anything. Very challenging on concepts, unless you've done it before and your last name's Zuckerberg or Musk. Like it's very hard to do that. People want to see you hustle, get down, infiltrate work, do the groundwork, and then then you'll get proper money. Once you get money from VCs or private equity, they're going to take control of the board and they're going to be dictating. And that's why you can't make certain decisions in the future. So, in the past, mistakes, I had a tea company. So after I sold Maverick, I started investing in a bunch of brands, apparel brands, Legends, 10,000, beverages, snacks. And I got into beverage. I love beverage. I love teas, and I got into a tea company, but I didn't fully understand the route to market aspect of it. You can have a great product, whether it's tea or a new water bottle, whatever it might be, but you got to understand the whole playbook beyond D2C. And this was a product, teas, where it's a very heavy product where it's tough to ship. it's tough to, so now you're dealing, it's very challenging. So now you have to build it on the infantry level, which we did a good job. We were in Wegmans and Whole Foods and everything, but it's very cap intensive also, a ton of money. So not understanding, I built the whole model after that saying, is it Amazon friendly? Check. Is it lightweight? Check. Is the price point in these, you know what I mean? I just saw where you have to live to scale. And I just think, getting into certain industries where you don't fully understand the route to market was probably where I learned the most. And where certain markets, you just understand it's a deep dive before you come above water. And the route to market's very different. It's a 2-tier distribution route. It's crazy. So it taught me to build a product that was direct to consumer friendly, lightweight, not huge in size where it's easy to ship. And this thing checked all the boxes. And, so Kane checked all the boxes, and I knew. And then I did the design work. People loved it. But you almost have to reverse engineer some of the stuff now in creating a product.
Yeah. Having an investor scorecard is what I call it on all the things I look for. And I rate them from 1 to 5, and it has to pass a certain threshold in order for me to invest in it or start the business. Is probably the best thing I've ever done in my entire career, because now you have a framework of knowing what your non-negotiables are, right? Oftentimes I think people want their desires, but they don't understand what they don't want enough. And if you framework what you don't want, because those are very specific. And when you know what the very specific non-negotiables are, you're able to, pass on the desires that you really think you have, because there's so many desires we have in life.